Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Harley Quinn Season 2, Episodes 6 through 8. Yeah, 3 episodes here. And the reason for that is pretty simple. I want to get this slot open by a very specific date. And in order to do that, we have to do multiple episodes a week from now until then. And we technically started this last week. We did 2 episodes last week, but we're doing 3 this week, 3 next week, and then the week after we'll do the last 2 of the season. And that will bring us right in time to begin reactions to Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid S, or Season 2 if you prefer. But in the meantime, we still got plenty more for this season of Harley Quinn to go. So, I'm very excited with what this season is doing so far. We're getting a lot of great stuff with Barbara. We're getting great stuff with Bruce now that he's gotten involved in it. And of course with Harley and Ivy and their group altogether. Catwoman's been introduced. And we're kind of taking down the Injustice League as we go along. I'm very excited to see how this all goes forward. There's a lot of really interesting concepts they can take this towards. But I do want to mention real quick the big trending news that was talked about with this series all over social media. So it was just the other day revealed that DC has chosen to censor something that is coming for Season 3. And yeah, you could say this technically counts as a spoiler, but honestly, if you know the characters, it's not a surprise. There's no big plot spoilers or anything, so nothing to worry about there. Basically, apparently, Season 3 of Harley Quinn was going to include a scene of Batman eating out Catwoman. Because, you know, this is an adult show and they're going to have adult stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that, of course. And because Batman and Catwoman have been a thing in multiple incarnations of Batman comics and series and movies. So that's not any big surprise, right? With an adult series like this, you bring in that couple and everything, and you have Bruce eating out Selena. Okay. I mean, I doubt it would like show anything, obviously. Just kind of like show that it is happening, basically. But the point is, DC has gotten involved and chosen to censor that, saying that heroes don't do that, which is like really fucking confusing to me. And basically their entire thing was about trying to sell toys or something. Like this is an adult series. You shouldn't be trying to sell toys for kids from an adult series. Like, this is a series that very heavily shows blood, gore, dropping F-bombs everywhere, all kinds of shit like that, and you're gonna like be like trying to market it to kids? That just makes no sense. Second, if you're trying to say like this would somehow interfere with sales of toys for Batman in general, it's like how would that interfere with that at all? Again, this is an adult series. If parents are letting their kids watch it, that's on the parents. And if parents for some reason would choose to not get their kids Batman toys anymore just because of something like this, that's stupid. That makes no sense. Because again, it's not like that would affect the kids in any way, because the kids wouldn't be seeing this, or shouldn't be at least. So it makes no sense. There's no actual logic behind it at all. But that was their entire line. That hero they're trying to market heroes, and heroes don't do what? Heroes don't eat people out. Heroes don't have consensual sex. What? Since when? And not to mention, multiple other movies and stuff have shown Batman and Catwoman like after or around sexual intercourse time. The recent movie from 2019 that I ranted about on the channel, admittedly, Batman Hush, shows that. And multiple other incarnations have too. It's not new. It's not a new concept to show that with these characters. And if you try to like make it about the fact that it's specifically Batman eating her out, it's like, what? I don't get. I do not understand at all. And that seems to be the general consensus from what I've seen on Twitter and Facebook. No one understands what is going on here. No one understands why they're censoring this. It makes no sense. And it's like, I'm not saying like I was like super excited to see something like that or anything. It's just, I don't get why something like that would have to be censored in a show that pushes the envelope already on a lot of this stuff. Again, it's not like it's going to show it heavily. It's not like it's going to turn into a porno. No, it's probably it was supposed to be just like a brief scene that like showed it slightly off camera. That's all. I just feel like this decision is dumb and makes no sense, and everyone seems to be in agreement with that. So, just wanted to touch on that because that has been a notable discussion topic on social media these past couple days. Um, but yeah. I hope that this show does continue to push the envelope and does continue to be as adults as they can get away with. Because honestly, it works because of that. This show is specifically as good as it is because of the fact that it's an adult show. It's for adults. The humor is adult. The language is adult. It's meant to be an adult show. And that's fine. And it's interesting that they specifically note that heroes don't do that in regards to all of this. And it's like, what, you would be fine if it was like Harley eating out Ivy or something? You would be fine if it was or Kite Man eating out Ivy, I guess would be a more appropriate comparison. You would be fine if it was that because they're both villains. Heroes, good people don't eat each other out or something. What is that logic? I don't understand. I don't understand what DC is going for with this logic. Like it can't be even the idea of like heroes don't have sex or anything because they've had multiple heroes within their universes who have had kids. Batman being one of them. I mean, hello, Damian is his son with Talia al Ghul. Like, I could rant on this forever, but I'm not going to. It's stupid. It's dumb. It is dumb as fuck. Um, so let's just get on with this episode, with these episodes, before I just lose my fucking mind here. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So there's a lot to talk about with these episodes. These 3 episodes were pretty jam-packed. So I have the general synopsises up here just to remind myself, and let's go through them episode by episode. So episode 6 was All the Best Inmates Have Daddy Issues, and this episode was mostly a flashback. Um, Ivy and Joker, or Ivy and Harley, rather, are hanging out together when they spot a guy who seems to be the normalized Joker, continuing off of what we had in the end of season 1. So they realize that it's gotta be him, just with the way he looks. Like Harley even uses her phone, takes a picture, and like doodles on it to show that it's him. So at this point, Harley goes over her backstory, and it's not quite the same as like Mad Love from the new Batman Adventures, the classic Harley backstory and everything. But it's the same kind of concept. Harley was a psychologist working at Arkham Asylum, and she was put on the case of the Joker. In this version, though, she is hired specifically to speak to him in order to find the location of a bomb. Um, she's hired by Gordon and District Attorney um, Harvey Dent, pre Two Face, obviously. And she goes in, speaks to the Joker, and ends up just talking to him and getting to know him and stuff. And the big deviation from here is Ivy's connection to the backstory as well, how she helped Harley um, be able to psychoanalyze Joker and whatnot. But more so than that, um, Ivy helped them in their initial plan to break out. And this was really in a way to connect these two characters within this universe, within this show, um, more so in regards to their love, more so than Harley and Joker. So it's kind of like a modern update with the classic Harley Quinn show touch of being ultra violent and adult of the Mad Love story. It's a newer version of it, but focusing on Harley and Ivy rather than Harley and Joker, um, which is a really interesting touch to it. Um, it was interesting to see a younger Jim Gordon there, as well as Harvey pre Two Face. Harvey being absolutely obsessed with the election, and everything was pretty fun. Um, I loved Joker in that time, like having the completely unhinged look at everything was great. It was just a really nice touch for his character, and it's like there's basically two kinds of Jokers that I really like. The very classic purple suit Joker who has like the short slicked hair and everything, um, and despite that is still just batshit crazy and all, or the one that looks more batshit crazy as well. The one kind of like what you'd expect for like the Batman series, where Kevin Michael Richardson voiced Joker. Something similar to that. I've always enjoyed those two interpretations of the Joker compared to others, and the episode also featured some comparisons when Batman was interrogating Joker. You could easily compare that to The Dark Knight and all. There's a lot of references within the show to stuff like that. But yeah, I really enjoyed the episode. I thought it was really fun to see this kind of new updated backstory for Harley. And yeah, it was enjoyable. Excuse me. At the end of it, though, they had Dr. Psycho analyze this guy's mind, and they realized that there's nothing left of the Joker in him. However, after doing so, it seems to maybe unlock a little bit of it, because we see him react really weirdly after they head out, including a really psychotic Joker laugh. But he doesn't seem to have changed completely or anything. It's just little hints of the Joker are popping through now. Episode 7, though, 7 and 8 are really in a way, a two-parter. And I'm really glad I got to watch these episodes together because I feel like they really rely on each other. So, episode 7, Harley and Ivy are put on trial by Two Face. And they're guaranteed to lose. So, Ivy, who's brought up to the witness stand, doesn't even try to hide it. She admits that they were going after the Injustice League and everything, and yeah, gets them declared guilty. I love that Man Bat, of all characters, was their lawyer, their court-appointed lawyer. Um, and I love the idea that he's just screeching during the trial, and he's actually saying things or trying to. And Bane, who is the judge for some reason, is just like, do we have anyone here who speaks Bat? um, but yeah, they're sentenced, and instead of going to Arkham, Bane throws them into his own rehabilitation center, which is this giant pit in the ground, which we were shown before. Bane was given that by Two Face before, so that was actually built up, and I like that. Down in the pit with Harley and Ivy, Bane explains how it all works down there. It's a rehab center, more so than a prison. Um, and it's an interesting idea, and it's definitely something Bane would do of all characters in this. um, but we see all kinds of characters there. We see Killer Croc, we see Victor Zsasz, and so on and so forth. Um, while down there, Harley and Ivy find out about a talent show and formulate a plan to use the helicopter of George Lopez, who is flying in to perform. They're going to use his helicopter to escape. However, things go wrong when Harley is put in basically what you would consider solitary confinement. And yeah, things just don't end up working out. They're not able to escape via the helicopter, but they are able to start a riot after all. And eventually do escape, though Bane tries to stop them, and Harley tries to sacrifice herself. But in the end, they do escape. And then they kiss. And I knew about the kiss. It's another one of those things that you just see everywhere on Twitter and Facebook. I didn't know any kind of like how would I put it? I didn't know the context behind it at all. Like I didn't know anything about like how or when or why it happened. So I didn't know the context going into it. I just knew it did happen at some point because it was pretty commonly everywhere on social media when it did, when people first saw that when season 2 first came out and all. So I was expecting it at some point. I just didn't know when. That being said, I like how it was handled, and I like how both of them are very awkward about it afterwards, as we see in episode 8. Because it was very much a spur of the moment thing, and it's very clear that they love each other. Like that much has been built up since season 1 and everything. It's been made very clear that they love each other. And Harley even said in in the episode that she loves her, that she loves Ivy. So it's not even a surprise. It's very obvious, and especially with having episode 6 in the play in the play here, with having us see how that all began. I think that these 3 episodes watching together were perfect, honestly. So getting to see that, but like I said in the reaction and all, I do truly believe Ivy loves Kite Man as well. And I think it's possible for people to love more than one person. It is. And that's why I've been annoyed sometimes when people have said in the past, like, oh, how can you get remarried after your spouse divorces you or dies or something? It's like, how can you love like again? How can anything else be true love again? It's like you can love multiple people throughout your life. It's not just a one and done situation. That's why the entire idea of soulmates bothers me, because it's like, no, there's not just necessarily one person out there for you. You can fall in love multiple times in your life with multiple different people, and it's just as valid and it's just as real. So it's like, I think very much or Ivy does genuinely love both Harley and Kite Man, and that's why this is so conflicting, and why both of them are so awkward about it afterwards. And that leads into episode 8, where they're very awkward. They're very, like, they're dancing around it and everything. And this leads them to go in two different directions. Ivy goes on a kind of meeting the parents date with Kite Man, to this Mexican restaurant that her parents love. However, Ivy has forgotten to crap, my mind's blanking. Reserve. She's forgotten to reserve their table, but they make it work anyway. And we learn two things from this kind of B plot, you could say, in the episode. One, Kite Man's parents love Ivy. Like, she very much shows herself to be a great girlfriend for Kite Man, or Charles is his actual name. But we also see that Kite Man's parents, who, by the way, do have superpowers, interestingly enough, are total shitbags. They are really shitty, and they basically don't really care as much about Kite Man as they do about him getting together with someone who has powers so that their grandkids can have powers. It's kind of one of those situations where they just want their family lineage to remain powerful and stuff, and they don't actually care about Kite Man's happiness here, their own son's happiness in this all. They may make it very clear it's all about their grandkids at this point. And Ivy gets really sick of it. She gets really pissed off, and as they leave the restaurant, she snaps at them. She acknowledges how good of a partner Kite Man is to her, and he genuinely is. He's actually a really great guy, and I've talked about this before. And he's a really great partner for Ivy. And she tells them about all of that, and basically tells them to fuck off, that they're pieces of shit, and that their approval isn't necessary here. And Kite Man appreciates it clearly by his hell yeah at the end. And it's awesome seeing her stand up for him like that. Because, let's be honest here, Kite Man he's a really goofy fucking character. And he's very clearly the kind of jokey character who's not taken very seriously, both in universe and outside of it. A lot of fans of comics, who would see him in the comics or whatnot, probably wouldn't take him seriously. He's just this minor, random, ridiculous, stupid villain who doesn't really have much of relevance. So the fact that they kind of address that here by having him be defended by Ivy is like, cool. I can dig that. And then we have the A plot of episode 8 here. Harley is really thrown off by the kiss. She's so thrown off that she's trying to prove herself, trying to prove that it was nothing, trying to prove that she's the baddest bitch in town still. And so when she finds out that Gordon is planning to take her out in order to reinstate Gotham City as part of the US, she decides to challenge him to basically a war. And unfortunately, thanks to Barb, decides that she needs an army. So they find Mr. Miracle performing a magic trick. steal his mother box and open a boom tube to fucking Apocalypse to meet with Darkseid and get his army of parademons to work for her. Of all the things in this series I expected, this was not one of them. I did not even slightly expect Apocalypse and Darkseid and all of this to come into play at all. It threw me, it caught me so off guard. I, I'm still in shock over it. Like this series has had plenty of references, plenty of inside jokes and gags and stuff, plenty of notable characters that we know and love within the DC Comics canon and everything. Of course. But this is, I mean, Darkseid is probably the biggest, the baddest villain of all of DC Comics. Without question. And so bringing him in here, bringing Apocalypse into here, funny enough, I'm reacting to this at the same time as Young Justice Outsiders, and Apocalypse and Darkseid are involved in that. But bring that into play in this series is just so wild and unexpected. But it worked. It was funny. It was entertaining. It was so unexpected that it just worked. Um, and so Darkseid agrees to hear them out, but gives Harley a challenge. That in order to be able to control the parademons, she needs to defeat Granny Goodness in combat. At that point, Darkseid will allow her to take the staff of Granny Goodness that allows her to control the parademons. And Harley is completely outmatched, of course. But Dr. Psycho controls Harley's unconscious body and gets the one up on Granny Goodness, taking her down, knocking her out with a giant stone. And it's just like, the entire time I was watching this and everything, my mind was just like, I was like just getting really mind blown over and over again. Just the fact that this was happening in this series. And it's like, it's amazing and I love it. But yeah. So having won, Darkseid agrees to give Harley the parademons, and so they head back to Earth to have their war with Gordon. And they have their war. And it's made very clear that Gordon is completely outmatched and that him and his makeshift army are completely going to die. Because fucking parademons. They have no way to truly fight against these parademons. And it is one of the most gruesome scenes in this entire series. There's only one other scene in this series that has been this gruesome, and that is when the living plants attacked at the end of season 1 and started like eating people and shit. And it's like, it was really fucking horrifying and gruesome. And this is actually matching that. And this is like not even the end of the season. Like, oh my god, what are they gonna do for the finale of this season? If that's only like episode 8. It's just like, oh my god. It was so fucking gruesome and horrifying, and it's like, it should be. That's how it should be with parademons and Apocalypse and all. So, I mean, they did that right. But it's like, jeez. And Ivy manages to snap Harley out of it, gets her to break the staff, causing the parademons to return to Apocalypse. But Dr. Psycho, who had been, as he put it, getting a hard-on over all this evil doing, he decides to quit the gang because he believes that Harley's become too soft and everything. I wonder how long that will last. But it's just like, this this went into an entire shit show I was not prepared for. And all because of a kiss. I like how Harley throughout this episode as well is trying to convince people that the kissing is just because she's gone, because she's wild and impetuous and stuff, and she just kisses everybody else to kind of prove it. She kisses Psycho, she kisses King Shark, she kisses Barbara, um, which I'm sure some people ship that, but it's funny how she's just trying to prove that it didn't actually mean anything, even though she knows it really does. Like even at the end, she's like she wants to tell Ivy that she loves her, but then she sees Ivy with Kite Man and feels guilty about it because she does truly care about Ivy's happiness and wants Ivy to be happy with Kite Man too. So it's like a lot of conflicting feelings. But I like that. I think that's very natural and genuine. I think it's a good thing, honestly, that there's these conflicting emotions with this. It feels like how it should. When there's like it's not even what I would consider like a typical love triangle, because you see in a lot of shows there's a lot of shows with the love triangle stuff and all, but it's not really so much that because it's more along the lines of both sides are completely valid. It's in these love triangles in the various shows and movies and whatnot, it's usually always like, oh, you know where it's going to end up, and yeah, you kind of get that here too. But the reason in most of those is because only one side actually is valid or has any real like possibility to it. But in here, it's not that. Ivy and Kite Man truly do love each other, and they really do work extremely well together. They are a fantastic couple. But at the same time, it's like Harley and Ivy are going to end up together. But that doesn't make them any more valid of a couple than Ivy and Kite Man. Both are equally as valid, and both are clearly shown here to be so. And that makes it more real and honestly more believable than probably any other love triangle like situation in almost anything I've seen. Like you guys know, one of my favorite series of all time is Legend of Korra. I can rave about that series for hours. But I acknowledge that the love triangle stuff in that series between Korra, Asami, and Mako in the first and second season was kind of crap. I mean, it wasn't like the worst example of that I've seen, but it wasn't that good. It was very, very cringy. It was very cringy, stereotypical love triangle bullshit. It was. Um, and honestly, I think it's done better here. And mind you, I still like Legend of Korra more overall, but I acknowledge that Harley Quinn, the series Harley Quinn, does that kind of thing so much better. Because again, it feels more realistic, more genuine, and less cringy. It feels like less like it's trying to force this idea of a love triangle, and more like it's just a genuine real life situation. And again, both sides are valid, and you fully like believe the love on both sides, both options here. You know where it's going to end up, but at the same time, that really actually makes you feel bad for Kite Man because he's a genuinely good guy, um, and he deserves that love too. And so it's just like I really appreciate what this series is doing with that, and I hope that they continue to give this plot point the respect it deserves. And once it does eventually happen that Harley and Ivy do end up together and Kite Man is kind of left out of it, I hope he finds happiness and I hope they don't forget about him. I hope that they give Kite Man a happy ending as well because he does deserve it. And these episodes just go to show why I love this show so much. It's not necessarily the most accurate to DC Comics canon a lot of times. It deviates a lot in certain ways, but it does so in ways that also make its own memorable moments and canons. It still respects these characters and does its damnedest to make us respect them too. It's not like the Batman Hush movie I ranted about in that review the other day, where it just it completely just misunderstood and mishandled a character. It's not like that at all. It's handling things differently, but in a way that still respects these characters and shows a lot of love for the comics and wanting to update it all for the modern era and tell new stories with them. And I appreciate that. So yeah, these 3 episodes of Harley Quinn Season 2 were fantastic, and I would love to hear your thoughts on them down in the comments below. Thank you so much for tuning in, and for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.